Okay, so this video is meant to expand on some of the ideas I talked about in my censorship video. I kind of talked a little bit about how if you enjoy violent media, it doesn't mean necessarily that you are a violent person. And this is kind of to expand on that. Originally, this was going to be adult entertainment versus children's entertainment, kind of explaining that just because something looks like it's for kids doesn't mean it's for kids, and just because something looks like it's for adults doesn't mean that only adults can enjoy it. But then I realized that when I say children's entertainment, people are going to assume I mean something on PBS, and when I say adult entertainment, people are going to assume I mean pornography, and then that's not the argument. I've already tried talking about this a few times. I'm not sure exactly what I want to say. I keep kind of losing focus on what I'm trying to talk about and rambling. This isn't nearly as focused a video as some of my other ones have been. So it's very difficult for me to think about and talk about this subject. But I want to start with something I already kind of talked about, though. When I was a kid, I didn't enjoy children's entertainment because I felt like it talked down to me as well as a bunch of other factors. There's a lot of factors as to why I didn't enjoy stuff that I was presented with outside of home. Because at home, I watched obviously more adult-oriented shows like Dragon Ball Z or the early stuff on Cartoon Network and sci-fi and stuff like that. And I think that an issue people make an issue people have when they have children is that they assume that because something is made for kids that all kids will enjoy it. I don't think people think that children necessarily have standards to what they absorb. They think if they're just presented with something, then they'll absorb it. And certainly that might be true in some cases, but again, when I was a kid, I was very cynical. I didn't enjoy everything I was presented with. I would often make fun of shows if I felt they talked down to me too much because they were stupid. And I don't think it's necessarily good. You can find educational stuff without it being condescending, like Dora is, where you're presented with 4 options. One option is clearly right, and it pretends that you don't know the answer. You very much would. Perhaps a toddler doesn't, but when I was at the age of 4 and still being presented with that in school, I just thought it was insulting. I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. And a lot of shows like that, I feel like, the more educational ones, they talk real slow, and I feel like there's a better way to do education than just slow, condescending, simplistic shit. Now, on the other side, you have the, I don't know if they still do these type of shows, but I know that when I was a kid, we had Barney, and about a decade later, they had Yo Gabba Gabba. They have the costume shows where someone's in a costume, or they have the fucking puppet shows like Muppets or something. Or a blend of the two in Sesame Street. And I think that, if it isn't already done, I don't know if it is, but if it's not, it certainly needs to stop, because I think that's a very dangerous thing to have kids be trusting in these people in suits. I think that's very dangerous. I was cynical. My dad tried to have me take a picture with a guy in a Scooby-Doo costume when I was a kid, and I just felt real nervous around him, and even in the picture I wasn't smiling because I just wanted to get away from him, because it's a dude in a suit. And I know it's a dude in a suit because I'm not a stupid kid, but there are other kids that apparently are stupid. Perhaps because they're being presented with stupid entertainment instead of more mature shit like I was. I don't know why exactly, but I know I didn't ever trust that. But I think there are kids that do trust people in the suit because they get conditioned in a way by watching the shows to kind of run toward them. They run to the TV when it's on, and then they'll run to them in real life. And I think that's very dangerous to have kids trust people in suits. I think that's very dangerous. So if that isn't stopped, it needs to stop, and people need to stop showing their kids that type of shit. But I think some people also view all of That as the same thing as cartoons as a whole. I don't think people understand how much a kid changes from the age of 3 to 5 to 7 to 9 to 11 to 13 and on and on and on. Because I've seen that too, where when I was a kid, adults would just put me with a kid 3 years younger than me and assume that we can find common ground, and I really couldn't, because not only am I already a cynical kid who's kind of more serious than most kids are, so I'm already kind of beyond that, but I'm also 3 years older, so I have a lot more of an education, I have a lot more linguistic ability, a lot more comprehensive thought. And also, we might just enjoy different things, but I don't think adults see that either. And that's not necessarily entertainment, that's more of a social thing, and I don't want to get too off on that tangent, but that is an issue, I think. People view kids from the age of 5 to 10 as being the same thing, and they're not. And they certainly wouldn't enjoy the same entertainment. I haven't had restrictions on the entertainment I absorbed since I was a child. When I was 3, as I've said before, I was playing Quake 3 in a tournament. Those were rated mature games. When I was 6, my dad bought me my first rated R movie, Scarecrow. It was very violent. When I was 7 or 8, we watched the Halloween remake in 2007. So actually, it would have been 10. That was the first movie I ever saw that had a sex scene in it. So I really didn't have any restrictions. You know, obviously my dad hasn't shown me porn, but I didn't have any restrictions on what I was watching. I think that is better than just assuming that just putting some random shit on and assuming that because someone's a kid, they're going to watch it and enjoy it. Maybe they should have more freedom with what they're being presented with. I don't know the answer on that. I'm not trying to tell people to parent. It's more just, I don't know, me speaking out against that practice. Okay, what I'm trying to say is that because someone's a kid doesn't mean they can't enjoy something more mature, is what I'm trying to say. And on the flip side of that, just because something looks like it's made for a kid doesn't mean it is a kid. A lot of animated stuff, obviously anime from Japan is very adult oriented. A lot of animated stuff on Cartoon Network back in the 2000s was also not necessarily adult oriented. It was still made for kids, but it would certainly hit on mature themes. And adults can enjoy it. You know, I used to hear my mom make fun of my dad for watching something that's animated with me. She's like, "Oh, what are you doing watching cartoons?" And it's very dismissive, and it's not as prevalent as it used to be. There are certainly still some people that think that way, but it isn't as prevalent as it used to be. I just want to say that just because something looks like it's meant for kids doesn't mean you can't enjoy it as an adult. And just because something is a violent movie like Starship Troopers, which I saw when I was 4 and loved that movie, it's still my favorite movie of all time. I watched it as a kid and I was fine. So I don't think we need to necessarily... I think it's certainly less prevalent than it used to be. The breakdown of this is for kids, this is for teenagers, this is for adults. It's not as prevalent as it used to be, but it does still exist in some ways in some people's minds. And I think that as a whole, we just need to kind of move away from that entirely. Certainly as an adult, you're not going to watch something on PBS meant for a toddler and get anything out of that. And similarly, a kid isn't going to watch a pornographic film and get anything out of that. Now, I don't think that porn is destructive to show a kid or that it would necessarily, it has some moral thing. I think that just they aren't going to get anything out of it. It's not going to stimulate them. They aren't going to understand it. So they don't need to be shown it. But there shouldn't be a, moral thing into it, I think. I think that's what, well, I don't think moral is the right word to use. I don't know what the right word to use is, but essentially it's not destructive. It's just they aren't getting anything out of it, so they don't need to be shown it. But it doesn't need to be doesn't need to be paranoia around it. I guess what I'm trying to say. And I think that we just need to kind of, for the most part, get rid of the rating, or put less weight into the rating system, which again has mostly happened in society. People in society are not as closed-minded as they used to be, in thinking that this is meant for this type of person, this is meant for this type of person, this is meant for this type of person, and there's no in between. Yeah, it's certainly less prevalent, and I'm glad to see that. I just would like to see that trend continue until we just stop kind of putting something on for someone and assume that they're going to enjoy it.